Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and I like to talk about books, a lot of book reviews, a lot of just what I'm reading, sometimes reading vlogs. Today I'm actually going to be doing a book review and I'm going to be talking about the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St James. The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St James is something that I got through Book of the Month, I think like a month or two ago, what is time, but it's been sitting on my bedside table for a little while. It's been on my to-be read list, but I wanted to get through a couple other things first, so finally got around to it and definitely liked it. Like, just short story, I liked it. It wasn't anything like crazy wow, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good read. I've never read anything by this author before, but I thought it was it had a good ambiance, it had like a pretty interesting story. So I'm gonna get into it a little bit. This review will be spoiler free, so I'm gonna do like a brief summary kind of synopsis, but because it won't have any spoilers, it's gonna be super short and just kind of an overview of what to expect from the book. Then I'm gonna get into the review. Like I said, it will be spoiler free. At the very end, I will have a section where I talk about a few spoiler points, but I'm gonna be labeling it really well, and I'll also leave a timestamp below so you can just kind of know that's the point in time where I'll be talking about a few spoilers. So I'm gonna try to label it really well and everything, but yeah, let's just get into a little bit of a summary or synopsis. This book follows a woman named Shay Collins, who is a medical office receptionist by day, but writes a true crime cold case blog at night. She has recently divorced and has also found herself really drawn a lot more and more to a local unsolved case on the lady killer murders that's about 40 years old, so it takes place in like the 70s. This takes place I think in like 2017, I want to say. So when she meets the woman Beth Greer, who was accused and then subsequently acquitted of the murders, she actually has like a lot of renewed interest in the case, goes back to some of her files and some of her research, and things actually get a lot more interesting when Beth Greer actually agrees to talk to Shay and give her only like real true interview in 40 years. So she ends up interviewing her and uncovering like a lot more than she bargained for, including like the truth about this long unsolved case and just a lot more about Beth Greer and her entire family, which is a very prominent family in their small northwestern town. That's about all I can really say without like giving away obviously what she uncovers and all of her story. She does have like personal ties to kind of cold case unsolved mysteries. It's kind of personal, like not this particular case, well I guess because it takes place in her town, but in general her interest in this topic stems from something that happened in her childhood, so it's very like close to home and it has basically consumed her, and that's kind of a little bit why her marriage fell apart, because he just didn't understand why she was so interested in this, and yeah, it just didn't work. But anyway, let's get right into the review. Right away, this book has like really good ambiance due to the setting on like the dreary northwestern coast. Kind of dreary weather lends itself really well to like a mood of mystery and kind of like helping to build suspense and intrigue. So I think that that's just that setting right away is a really nice setting for a story like this, because it sets the tone, it sets the ambiance. You can tell even just from the color or the cover of the book, the kind of vibe. So it definitely sets the mood really quickly just by like setting and location. I think the main character of Shay is likable enough, but not like, nothing really hits it out of the park for me for her as a character. She's just fine. She's really a vessel to explore the story and to explore the character of Beth Greer. So for me it is absolutely Beth Greer and of course the entire kind of Greer family that is really the captivating part of the story. But I think Beth Greer in particular is definitely a more interesting character to explore than Shay. Although I do enjoy that Shay does have her own like story and personal growth throughout, so you do get to see her personal connections to mysteries, unsolved mysteries, all of this, and also just her personal growth relating to those experiences. So I do really like that that is something that is in the story. It adds a lot more dimension in my opinion. opinion, and it just helps kind of round things off. It feels like a very like thoughtful element to have for her character. It would have been really easy to have her just be a writer and not that much more, and not have a lot of other aspects to her, but I think that that does help give a little more dimension to the story. The writing itself is effective and descriptive, though not necessarily like beautiful artistic prose. I mean, I just read 2 books by Emily St. John Mandel, which is, you know, she has like a really beautiful kind of poetic writing, and so this writing is good, and like I said, it's really descriptive. It definitely puts you in the story, but it's nothing like crazy like artistic prose or anything like that. Honestly, that just doesn't matter though. This isn't the type of story that requires that type of writing. This is exactly what this book needs, and it does exactly what this book needs. Like, creates that real atmosphere, the ambiance, puts you there, but like it doesn't need to do anything more than that. I mean, I actually really enjoyed this book, and I found myself like wanting to read it, wanting to pick it up, enjoying where the story was going, wondering what was going to happen next. So I really liked the ride and where the story took me. I enjoyed the turns and the shifts that happened. It's not like exactly what you'd expect, which I really liked, and I do think that the pacing was really nice and steady, which in a book like this is of course like probably one of the most important factors in keeping you interested in the mystery and everything like that. So I like that it got pretty much right into Shay and her blog and her life, and then it also got right into Shay meeting Beth Greer, like within, I think it was like the 2nd chapter or something. It was really pretty quick that she met Beth Greer. Beth Greer came into the like medical office where she worked. She met her really quickly, so that whole ball of like their interview and their relationship got rolling really quickly. Not like rushed or anything, but I like that because that means that you're just right into the story. There's a lot of ability to just keep that pacing going. So then there's like, okay, there's another revelation. Okay, there's another revelation. And going back to that pacing and Shay herself, her backstory is also unrolled, I guess, revealed kind of pretty steadily. So you get a little bit of it initially and then a little bit more later. And the fact that that is interspersed with Beth Greer and her backstory and her family's backstory means it's like there's always kind of something happening, but never too much happening, if that makes sense. And I really liked that. It is non-linear, sort of, so there's a lot of like flashback chapters. It goes back and forth between, I think it's 1977 and 2017. Let me check. Yeah, 1977 and 2017, so it goes back and forth primarily between those 2 years. And then there's a couple other years that are thrown in there as well. But for the most part, it takes place like in those two timelines, and you get chapters from Beth Greer's point of view, and you get chapters from Shay Collins' point of view. So yeah, I just thought that that format itself made the story have a really steady pacing, kept it interesting, kept me interested as a reader, and it helped reveal things with a nice gradual pacing. And that to me in a story like this is really important. Some people might be bothered by the nonlinear timeline, but because they're so clearly labeled in the chapters, I didn't find it confusing at all. So I don't know, something to keep a lookout for if that confuses you, but I didn't personally find it confusing. I think another thing to note about this book is, of course, if you hate like timeline flashbacks and stuff like that, you won't like it. But if you love loose ends being tied up and making sure that you know what happens in the end of the book, you like know who did it basically, then you will enjoy this book. That's all you need to know. It's not actually like a cold case. They're pretty explicit about that. I know when I got this from Book of the Month, it was right there on the website in the description that this is a book where you know what happens in the end. It was pretty explicit, so I'm not really giving anything away by saying that, but I do recommend this. If you like hate open-ended books, you'd probably really like this. It leaves the reader with closure. You're not left wondering. I also really like a good open-ended book too, don't get me wrong, but for something like this, it's kind of nice to have that wrapped up. Okay, so for the next section, I am going to be talking about a few spoilers. So if you have not read this book yet, please do not watch any further. I also already mentioned that I would have a timestamp below, so I'll put a timestamp for where we are in the video video that this is a section with spoilers. Please, please, please do not watch if you still want to read this book. Alright, so talking about spoilers now, I really enjoyed how the story shifted from being just like a cold case kind of mystery story to also including like ghost story elements. This doesn't always work, honestly, but in this case I think it really did work. Yeah, it worked really well in the story given the sinister Greer mansion and all of that. It just lent itself really well. It was spooky, especially like I said, like the setting was a really important part of creating the ambiance for the story, and the Greer mansion itself was also a big part of that. And so like having there be kind of like a ghost element, like a haunting element, it worked. Even when they started introducing it, I was kind of like, is this gonna work? That, I don't know, that's something that I actually kind of enjoyed, even though I wouldn't necessarily think I would enjoy it. It worked in the story, it spooked me. I mean, I was doing a lot of the reading for this like at night in like a dimly lit room, but still, it spooked me. This story just definitely keeps you pretty interested the whole time, and this was part of it, so I did like that. I also like how like all of the loose ends were tied up. Like I said, I don't mind an open-ended story, but in this case, I think that it was nice to have everything like tied up and within both Shay's story and Beth's story, so I really liked that. I liked that this author did not neglect to also tie up Shay's story and give her like a little bit of character growth. You know, it didn't have to be anything crazy because obviously there's a lot of other stuff to focus on, but I like that that was there. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, particularly, actually, probably some of like the best stuff was like the little bit at the end where Shay kind of, her character growth with her sister and that relationship. I just really liked that. And it was actually just like a good personal reminder to like keep in touch and keep the people you love like informed of what's going on in your life, kind of. That sounds so corny, but it was like randomly a good reminder for that for me. So I really like how that was tied up. Honestly, just in general, I thought it was like a pretty good little story. It's not like something that I'll probably be thinking about crazy much like for years to come, maybe, but it was just like a good little read. Like it was just a good book to pick up. This would be like a great book to bring on a trip or vacation or a plane or a train or something like that, I think. Also just a great book to just be reading at home randomly. It was just a really nice book to have to like take a break at the end of the day. So definitely really liked this. Honestly, I don't have like a lot more to say, but I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely liked it. I'm not sure about like a definitive ranking for this. Maybe like 4 stars, 3.5, 4 stars. Like it was good. I enjoyed it. I won't ever read it again probably, but you know, it was a good book. So I don't have like a definitive ranking, but it was good. Not great, not fantastic, definitely not bad for me at least. A couple corny descriptions, but yeah, overall really enjoyed it. There's not a lot more to say about it, so I mean, let me know below if you've read this or if you want to read it or anything like that, what your thoughts are. And yeah, like, subscribe, like, thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.